really piss me off. Okay, that's slightly better. Is that better? Alright. Clap sync. 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Thank you. Alright. Very good. Very good. What's up, guys, and welcome to another Hungover Podcast, episode 80, Yvonne. This is a milestone for us. That's so many podcasts. What are we going to do for episode 100?
Figure out what we're going to talk about.
Hopefully a week before, at least. Obviously, we've chosen this topic. We're going to be talking about Google censoring Chinese searches on the internet through their search engine that they're providing to the Chinese government to help censor various searches, such as things that the Chinese government would not want their people to see. We'll delve deeper into that later when we get to the topic of the show. But first, I gotta tell you guys that you can get this podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Much to my dismay, because we're talking about Google. You can get it in audio form there. You can also catch it in video form on YouTube Monday at 9 a.m.
It's like our second podcast about Google
in a negative light. Yes,
weeks.
in 3 weeks. Yes, totally fine. They're a great company. But you can get it in video form on YouTube, and you can catch it live and be part of the conversation every Sunday. At some undisclosed time, because we have varying schedules, mostly surrounding us getting tilted playing Overwatch, and then just deciding to record a podcast. So you can catch it live every Sunday, twitch.tv/jujubesgood or twitch.tv/Comrade Boyar. Don't listen to him. I'm just telling you. I'm just the messenger over here. I'm just telling it how it went down, all right? But Yvonne,
yo,
thanks so much for doing this podcast
I
with
was
me.
paying attention.
You never pay attention to me, but I've come to just accept it. But we start our podcast out every single week by asking each other, what media have you been consuming throughout the week? And what alcohol have you been consuming throughout the week?
Question,
Yeah.
Julian.
I want to know.
So let's go first and foremost. My girlfriend's mother brought in these. They're called Zoku things.
Zoku things.
Zoku. Zoku. They are essentially like a freezer cup that you can make slushies with.
Yeah.
And so you put them in the freezer for at least 8 hours. You grab them out, put some juice in there. You stir it up over the course of 10 minutes. You get a fresh juice slushy. And then you can throw in whatever else you want in there. So, for instance, I went out and bought a ton of juices. So I made cherry with
Zoku, please sponsor us.
SodaStream.
We're giving you a free advertisement here in the background. You can get it at Bed Bath & Beyond for $20. Well, actually, $19.99, the very low price. Anyways, Yvonne, keep going.
Yeah, so cherry, SodaStream, and then some vodka. It was delicious. Yesterday for breakfast, we had some breakfast tacos, and I made mimosa slushy.
Nice.
So I froze the orange juice and then added the champagne in. It was a great way to
Very
start
cool.
the day. And today, because it was so successful yesterday, I did one, but I did orange juice, aloe vera, and champagne. Aloe beverage.
Sounds great, man. And you're having one now?
This is just a mimosa.
Oh.
Wink.
I thought it's that's what the
It's not.
slushies look like? That's pretty loose.
Yeah, no, the slushies are actually
No,
awesome.
I can
and
imagine.
Then, I also made an orange aloe rum drink last night that I really, really enjoyed. In any case, great invention, wonderful machine. Takes way too long for it to be practical, but when you have the chance...
How long does it take to get cool?
It takes 8 hours to freeze
Oh,
it,
yeah,
at
it's one
least,
of
and then
these
it takes,
things that will only make one drink every 8 hours because you have to freeze.
Yep.
Anyways,
You have
5
to
stars
really
out of
plan
5.
ahead.
Go buy your Zoku slushy shake maker in blue from Bed Bath & Beyond. No, it sounds awesome. I'm not gonna lie. Just It's one of those things that you have to freeze every time, right? Which is so.
Yeah.
It's like
And you have
very.
to wait for it to dry out, and then you
Oh, and then
freeze
you gotta
it, and
wash
but
it, and oh my god.
it's so rough.
But how
it
many
is
do you
actually
have?
delicious.
That's the question.
we have
Okay,
two.
then it's good.
We have
Then
two,
you're good.
so we can make a beverage for each of us, or I can get two in one.
I
day,
like the
which
idea.
is what I have been doing.
I like the idea. I
Sorry,
actually
Laura.
like both ideas where you and Laura get to have a nice bev together. I also love the idea that Yvonne just gets to have two. That's awesome. I wish I could have one. I'll have to purchase this. It seems like a dream come true in the summer oasis that we're in August, the middle of August. It's really disgusting out.
One in the morning, one in the evening. Is all
How
I'm
about
saying.
just
You
one
can
at
do-
1 a.m. in the morning?
Oh,
Or
I can
two.
do that too.
Anyways.
Well, anyway, and then I've seen two movies
Nice.
this week. My pal, my buddy, my friend, and I want to talk about Overcooked 2 because we hadn't played it before last podcast, but we have
Yeah.
since. It's awesome.
How awesome is it?
It is the most awesome. I actually want to stream it later tonight.
Very cool.
Again.
Whoops.
But I saw Mission Impossible,
Mhm.
which is a really good movie.
Whoa, Fallout.
Mission Impossible Fallout. I don't know if I talked about it
No.
last week. I can't exactly remember. Mission Impossible Fallout is a movie that needs to be seen in
Ooh.
theaters. Go out and see it. I know
Damn.
people don't like Tom Cruise personally, but it is an amazing movie. The stunts are super cool,
Dun,
and the
dun,
most
dun,
impressive
dun,
thing is that Tom
dun,
Cruise
dun,
does his
dun,
own
dun.
stunts. So everything you see that happens to Ethan Hunt is actually Tom Cruise doing it, and he's super charismatic as his character, and it's just really fucking cool.
I like the way
Um,
that they broke up. I mean, I've only seen the trailer, but they broke up the song into just single note beats. I thought that was pretty cool.
I didn't even notice that.
Maybe I'm talking about the last one that they made where he was on the plane. Maybe they did that. I don't know.
He was on the plane. He's in the planes all the time.
Yeah, I know. Whatever. Anyways, it's a very exciting action movie, I assume.
Super exciting. And the thing is, seeing this trailer
Mhm.
now, I like some of the movie is obviously in the trailer, but I think that a lot of the movie is not broadcasted by the
Very
trailer.
cool. That's a good trailer.
So it's still a fun movie.
That's
to
a
go
good
see.
trailer.
Yeah. The other movie I saw, of course, it also has Alec Baldwin.
Yes, there he is.
And basically playing a caricature of himself, as he does in every
Good
media
old Alec
ever.
Baldwin. Nice.
It's written by Christopher McQuarrie, which is one of my favorite writers. I mean, he's been doing the Mission Impossible series for a while
Mhm.
now. He also was involved.
Who's
in,
the
like,
woman in the
The
movie?
Usual Suspects. Which one?
The sexy one with on the motorcycle. Yeah.
Her? I
Was
don't
she
remember.
in Luther? I feel no.
No, that's not her.
Okay.
That's not her.
They have similar smiles.
That's not Alice,
Alice,
or whatever
yeah.
her name was.
Yo, who's this boxer? The guy, the big ass guy he fights. You must remember the scene with the tie on, and he does, and you hear it because he's so strong. He can move the wind in front. Anyways, you missed the trailer.
I actually don't remember.
You
that
don't.
scene.
Maybe it's not in
Uh,
the movie, and it's just in the trailer. Holy shit! They would take that out. This guy was huge. They must have paid him so much money to get that big.
So it's Rebecca Ferguson.
Ferguson.
Who? Yes,
Very cool.
she's from Stockholm, Sweden.
Sweden. These are very
Man,
exciting.
this is a history of like Scandi women with English accents in movies.
Well, very cool. I'm glad you got to see it.
Anyway, the other movie I got to see, which is a perfectly innocent summer popcorn flick, is an absolutely amazing movie. It was Mamma Mia. Here we go again. I am a huge ABBA
You're the
fan,
worst.
as everybody knows, And Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again is a fantastic movie, and let me tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
It's super fun. You can't take anything serious because the actors are not serious and they're having a lot
Mm-hmm.
of fun. And it's just, everybody's having a grand old time rehashing some ABBA songs from the first
Very
movie.
cool.
Getting to the B-sides that nobody cared about in this movie, but doing it in a fun way. It is fun. It is funny because, like, so the two guys who were the main music writers for ABBA, Benny and Bjorn,
Yeah.
they make cameos in this movie, and you can clearly, like, hear from the music that they've chosen that, like, these are the songs that should have fucking hits, but you all pissed it away, didn't understand our music. We're gonna fucking put this in a movie, and you're gonna like it.
Did Meryl Streep
It's
actually have a
awesome.
lot of screen time in this movie?
No, I think they
She's
had
too
her for
expensive,
1 hour.
yeah.
She was
She's too
in
expensive.
Greece the entire time they filmed this movie.
But
But,
hell no, she was not on screen. She was drinking
She
the
was not on
margaritas in the
screen.
back, man. Directing,
No, she was-
backseat directing over there. Something.
She was on a yacht just sailing around, and then eventually was forced to come back. But Meryl Streep has a little bit of screen time. Cher has a little bit of screen time.
Whoa, Cher's still alive.
Andy Garcia
Jesus
is in
Christ.
this movie. Andy Garcia has a song with Cher, and it's amazing.
This is just a feel-good
Uh,
summertime flick, huh? Not bad,
Yes, there's
kid.
nothing serious ever happens in this movie series.
Oops.
It is worse than the first one because the songs are worse, I think. But I really enjoyed it, and you can't help but laugh at performances from Pierce
I
Brosnan
love that
and
guy.
Stellan Skarsgård.
I love that guy. I think is it great.
Pierce Brosnan sings. How ridiculous!
That is pretty funny. How did they pay him that much money to do that? I don't know.
I think he just wanted
I
to
know.
have fun with Meryl Streep.
I just wanted to be in a scene with Meryl Streep. How many scenes with Pierce Brosnan and Meryl Streep?
In this movie?
Yeah.
Spoiler alert: 0.
Oh, dang.
There is 0 interaction.
probably
between
never
Meryl Streep
talked
and Pierce
then.
Brosnan in this movie.
Now,
In the first one, there was a bunch. In this movie, literally, I'm telling you, they had Meryl Streep for like an hour and a half. For shooting.
like Anthony Hopkins.
Literally every movie, like there's a bunch of photos of her in like flashbacks, and they're all either from the 1st movie or all stills taken from the hour and a half they had her at the end.
That's
It
ridiculous.
is
dude.
absolutely like Anthony Hopkins in Thor Ragnarok, where you can see his shirt gets sweatier and then less sweaty throughout. Like, it goes back and forth. Everybody go back and watch Thor Ragnarok. Pay attention to Anthony Hopkins and how sweaty he
Very
gets.
good. It's actually something only the keen eye of Yvonne over here would point it out, because he's seen the movie so many
I
times
just
now
love when actors are in movies
for a very short time.
so in order to build their like summer homes or whatever. and they're only in it for about 15
Yeah, I'll
minutes.
do it for $15 million. No problem. Yeah, 15-minute shot. You guys got me. I have an hourly rate, and you better meet it. The producer's like,
It's like
God damn it,
one-
we need him, though. It's the only way it'll sell.
We have to have big names to sell. Yeah.
That's awesome.
By the way, Stellan Skarsgård singing, also hilarious. And
Mhm.
I guess I won't. Fuck it. I'll
Yeah,
spoil
who's going to see it?
it. Spoiler: 3, 2, 1. Stellan Skarsgård gets in a fat suit, and it's
That's
amazing.
great. That is fantastic. The fat suit scenes are always great in movies. I don't think there's a single bad one. Not even like the Nutty Professor.
No, well, that's a good
I know.
movie. It's if you're gonna go with like a bad fat
It
suit,
better be a bad
application, go
movie.
with bad movies.
Nutty Professor is a great movie. I love that movie.
Like Jackass application of fat
Even
suits.
those, really funny.
Like bad application, but still very
Yeah.
funny. But funny for a different
Yes.
reason. Anyway, Julian, that was my week. I also got into Overcooked 2. I've been playing a lot of its the solo campaign to get through
Campaign.
my own campaign, because we played co-op on
Yeah.
yours. But for some reason, this is one of those games where they're like, hey, this is a game meant to be played with other people, so you can like have interactions and stuff. But we're not going to count your progress with the other person.
Yeah,
you're
that
playing
was a
with.
strange
We're only going to
choice.
count the progress with your own thing. So I've had to play a lot of Overcooked 2 on my own and on keyboard, and I'm gonna tell you, it's like
The
it's a
worst.
huge mindfuck.
On keyboard. I can mention.
Yeah, you have to use Shift to switch between characters. Alt is to dash. Control is to do the chopping, and space bars to like pick things up and whatever. Control you can also use to throw things.
Right. So if
But
you've
it's-
been living under a rock for the past 2 years, Overcooked 2 is the sequel to Overcooked 1. Really great couch co-op game, all about cooking, but in ridiculous scenarios.
As you can see in
Yeah,
the trailer behind
so
me.
it's a 4-player game. I highly suggest if you're looking for a good couch co-op game to play with maybe your significant other or your friends, your brothers, your sisters,
Or your
that type of
enemies.
stuff, or your enemies. You're gonna be enemies by the end. It's frantic cooking, very exciting, fun stuff.
But super
Yeah,
cute.
and the graphics are super tiny and cute, and basically you have to mix up a recipe. A bunch of recipes show up on the top of the screen, and you have to put them out basically on time. And then sometimes you have to do the dishes. Who knows? It gets crazy. I highly suggest you guys pick this one up. I agree with you, Vaughn. It's a great game. It is on everything except for last gen consoles like PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. It's even on the Switch. And I'll tell you, I even bought it there too because I knew there would be some point that I would have to whip it out and play Overcooked 2 on an airplane or something. But I'm excited. I'm excited to play more of that
Yeah,
game.
this is a game. It's a game
Sure.
that definitely talks about communication and
Mm-hmm.
coordination. If you have like a Overwatch duo buddy and you guys need some practice on communication and how
Right,
to work
right.
together, this is a great game to increase communication.
It's a fantastic game. Yvonne, we've been doing this podcast for a while, but I don't think I really got to know you until I started playing Overcooked 2 with you. This game is fantastic.
Last night we had
And there's online play in
some
it.
tremendous
Sorry?
trouble with last night, was it?
It was
or
last
the night
night.
before that we had some
We were playing video
real
games for a while
difficulties.
last night. Till 4 a.m.
Listen, I played a lot of Overwatch over the past like 2 or 3
And
days.
we've gone
I
barreling
think
down
it's
the rabbit hole.
unhealthy.
Bad idea.
Yeah, I think it's unhealthy. I played according to Overbuff. I played 21 games.
Jesus Christ.
comp
That's like
on
almost 10
yesterday.
hours. Right? Some of these games are like half hour long.
Oh,
Sorry?
right.
Everyone, we had a minor technical difficulty situation. But Yvonne, you were telling us about Overcooked 2. Let's dive right back in there, even though we were actually talking about how poorly we were doing in Overwatch.
Yeah. Oh my
Thank
God.
you, Brooke.
I've got this like big stress in my shoulder, and I know it's from video games, and I can't tell you which one it is. It could be Overcooked. It could be Overwatch. It's basically an over tilt situation.
Well,
I should just go
dang.
back to playing Elder Scrolls. Oh God,
Elder
my
Scrolls
shoulders.
Online, anyone? Anyways, you know
Just
who's
found out what an
gonna...
Elder Scroll was, by the way, in
is it?
Skyrim. I had never finished one of these games before. I still never have finished
I
one,
haven't
but
beaten
I'm
that game.
closer. God, it hurts. Oh.
Well, anyways, you know who's gonna be super over tilted if a certain company known as Google decides to continue on with their plans?
I don't know, but you didn't talk about anything that you did this week.
I know. I'm gonna keep going then. Never mind. I forgot that I do things too. Shit.
Did you do anything?
No, it's just I actually did quite a few things. Let's go. I mean, aside from video games, I played some Legend of Zelda, Overcooked 2 with Yvonne, and Overwatch as well, which were all talked about, so I will not talk about those. But, Yvonne, on Friday, 2 days ago, that happened,
Mhm.
I went to my friend's place to have a little cookout. We
Way
had a
to
little
go.
cookout. I decided to stop by at the local Italian grocery store that I have by me
Bobbity boop.
called Frank and Sal's Prime Meats. It's a great place, great butcher there, fantastic products. You know, you get your cured meats if you want. You can get the antipasta. You know, I don't know why they call it that, but it's a great thing. You know, marinated artichokes, that type of thing. But you can also
So
get great
before
sausages
pasta,
there.
because in Italy meals are only pasta. So you
You're
have
right.
before pasta, and then
It's
dessert is
true.
called post pasta.
Posto pasto. But yeah, so what we got, I got some fennel sausage, you know, I threw some, they pre-make kebabs too. They're great.
You
know?
love fennel sausage.
It's great. It's good stuff. Also got some sweet Italian sausages. One of my friends also decided to go in and get some bunch of sausage. We literally had a sausage fest, although there were women there. But anyways, I was designated to be the grill master. We made some burgers as well.
Aren't you always?
Yeah,
From
I love.
college on, you were
I
the
love
grill
grilling.
master.
It's very fun. I
So
love
much so that
cooking.
even your mother allows you to grill, which is a
That's a
we-
surprise. That's a
no,
godsend.
Listen, people don't know.
People
but
don't know.
Julian's
my mom.
mother is not trusting of most people in
In the
a
kitchen.
cooking food situation. It could be as simple as making a protein shake. She's not positive that you're going to make it correctly. A PB&J, get out of the way. Mona will help you.
She's got to cut off the crust for you. Come on.
So for Julian to have the privilege, nay, the responsibility of being in control of her grill is pretty
It was crazy.
important. Anyway,
was
so of
crazy.
course you're the grill master.
Yeah, I was the grill master for about half of the time. We cooked a lot of. I cooked a lot of things. You know, threw them out on the plates. Boom, 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 boom. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, Julian, this is such a good burger! Holy crap, this sausage is great!" And I'm like, "Yeah, all right, get out of here, get out of here. I don't want to talk to you." And then my friend comes over and he's like, "Hey, man, take it easy. I'll do some grilling so you can eat." I'm like, all right, everyone, fine, whatever. And then I come over and I start talking to people and they're like, hey, man, what the fuck? This burger sucks. They're all blaming me. Like, dude, you guys kicked me off the grill and then the food went bad. What's going on? What's going on here? And so I was like, I had to blame it on him. But anyways, that was the grilling. Had a bunch of beers.
Were they too well cooked? Is that the problem?
No, they were undercooked.
They were undercooked.
You know how people get. I don't know. They don't understand. They don't
I
understand.
don't think I could ever complain about undercooked unless it was like a rare burger. I won't have a rare burger unless I know the sourcing of the meat.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't trust.
No, the
American
meat we had was pretty
butcher,
decent.
like industrial
Everyone
butchery.
was fine. No one's good. You can have steak tartare. It's all right.
Yes, steak, but ground beef is a different.
I
is
know.
A different
I know.
ball game. It's just.
I think you'll live. It's not like you'll be happy tomorrow, but you'll live. My point is, though, Yvonne, we then went to the roof, and my friend had a bunch of leftover fireworks from the 4th of July, so we sent them
shit.
off his roof. Holy crap. More fireworks in front of my face. God damn it. So we did that, and then apparently someone off in the distance had a firework as well. They sent it out after, and so we were like, oh, hell no. We're having a firework war because we have that many. And they immediately stopped. They apparently only had one firework to set off because that's all that happened.
I thought it was gonna be like that
would've
scene in
been
Lord of
sick.
the Rings when what is it? Pippin has to go
Scottie
up to
Pippen,
the
huh?
flame, and he sets it off, and then it goes all the way to Rohan.
Yeah,
And it would have been like
I love
you
that
set
scene.
off fireworks, then that roof sets off fireworks, then the roof after that sets off fireworks.
man,
Think
that
about it.
trilogy, great movies out
Super
there.
good. Probably the best trilogy ever. And guess what? They
I
didn't split up the third movie into two different movies.
Oh yeah, don't remind me about any of that. Then we actually went to a bar that friend of a friend was supposedly going to DJ at, and we sat down. We got there, we all broke up because I don't know. They decided to take Ubers for some reason. They all wanted to take Ubers. I hate that company and everything about it. So I think it's a very strange situation to just show up. A car just shows up and you get into it, and you're just like, it's fine. Everything
That's
about this
literally
is
every
fine.
taxi.
I don't take taxis either, man. But at least there's some sort of, idea that this person's a professional when a taxi driver shows up. Because they have a license, like a taxi driver license, and they may or may not own this car. Who knows? I'm just saying, who knows what's going on with Uber and Lyft? I don't know. Apparently, we're not getting into that today. But we showed up at the bar, and there was a drag show going on. And I watched the drag show. It was pretty awesome.
Fun, dude.
It was a really great show. Although the gay guy that we were with apparently thought it was a really bad show. I don't know the tiers when it comes to drag shows. I'm not very well versed with them. I had a great time at the show. Maybe it wasn't his cup of tea. I don't know. But anyways, Yvonne, enough about drag shows. There's a topic we have to talk about.
Yeah,
and we've been going
drag on about
We're not going to
stuff.
drag on for 30 whole minutes.
We're going to talk about the land of dragons, China. And
China.
how Google is interacting
The original
with the Chinese government.
It's true.
Boom.
We are.
I
Very
love it.
good, Yvonne. Very good. What is this search engine Google is trying to implement here?
So a little while back, I think a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, there was the discovery of a Google-led project by the name of Project Dragonfly that would reintroduce Google into the Chinese internet market. The basic idea being that Google would introduce a censored search engine into China so that they would be able to service Chinese customers. And thereby, the only way to do that would be to go through with the Chinese censorship ideas. But China has a lot of censorship for internet as is, but the Google platform would be very restrictive in terms of how search results showed up, like completely not allowing for any links to be brought up if you search certain key terms, and just a lot of very restrictive policies towards the internet, which seems to be counterintuitive for a company like Google, whose starting motto was "Don't be evil."
Right. Very counterintuitive. Of course, we all know, at least in America, I think it's common knowledge that the Chinese government has, censored various websites such as Facebook and various social media websites as well, and that the Chinese access to the internet, as we know it, is very restricted. So it seems
they
like
don't allow Facebook. Yeah. They don't allow search, or they don't allow access to websites that talk about sex or
Tiananmen
human
Square.
rights, Tiananmen Square, things like some basic ideas of freedom, like anything that talks about human rights and democracy. They are titled with anti-communists or dissidents, etc., and so they're shut down in terms of being able to access them. Right. And so Google originally was involved with China from 2006 to about 2010. Google had censored search engines within China that they were using and allowing Chinese citizens to use. But under pressure from the United States Congress, Google withdrew their support of that platform and withdrew completely from China as a service for searching. So now they're coming back with a lot of meetings between Google and Google employees. Like, for instance, in December 2017, there was a meeting between very high-ranking Chinese Communist Party member and Google CEO,
Right.
in order to really cement the details of what this project was going to look like. And it's very secretive within Google. So only a few hundred of their 88,000 plus employees knew that this kind of a project was going on.
That's crazy,
And
actually.
it was, once it was known, it got leaked to The Intercept and the New York Times. And then it's covered by a variety of different news outlets after that. So Google employees are very much calling for this project to end and to have more voice into moral and ethical decisions of what Google is going to be doing. So it's a really interesting thing of like this huge, massive company. We've previously talked about how the EU was like, you can't really preference your Google search engine on a phone, right? And you can't preference Google sites or Google platforms in Europe. And this would be the employees themselves are kind of trying to restrict what Google is doing in China, for instance, because they see it as morally or ethically wrong to censor internet, especially in a what can be viewed by many people as a very restrictive and repressive style of access to information and governance.
Yeah, so I mean, it is really interesting that a private company, as I assume Google is, has sort of
I
come
think it is a
into
publicly traded company.
publicly traded company, but it's yeah,
Part
actually
of
that's true. Yeah,
the parent company
Fair
of
enough.
Alphabet.
right. But I think it's what's more interesting to me. I think is that in America we actually have quite a bit of freedom when it comes to using the internet. As opposed to other countries such as China and other other countries, other large company
Turkey,
countries
for
like that.
instance.
Turkey, I assume Turkmenistan. You went there. I don't know much about. But
Turkmenistan had severe restrictions.
I mean, not to say that the rest of the first world, at least, because I mean, we're talking about internet access here. So the rest of the first world countries don't have very much freedom. But I think I would say in America we probably have the majority in terms of being able to go to many different websites and do what you want on the internet. I think we have quite a bit of freedom, at least for now. Of course, it looks like maybe Ajit Pai is trying to restrict these types of things in certain ways.
Well, he's allowed for them to be restricted. So
Right.
net neutrality is taking down.
Yeah.
Again, this is, I think, a conversation as part of a series of conversation that we're really trying to have about issues of the internet.
Right.
As millennials, we grew up dial up to what we have now, and we feel and really have learned every step of the way how the internet is being used, the restrictions on the internet, etc. So like, we probably back in the day used things like Napster or was it LimeWire or
Yeah.
things like that for downloading music or whatever.
Those things existed. Like,
Yeah.
you're crazy.
And we've been around since, old forums to Twitter, and so
4chan.
it's talking about what I think our perspective is talking about like long-term internet users and looking at where the internet is today and what are the issues that are coming up against it and how we're going to be able to combat them with so little realistically so little power as a consumer has.
Right, exactly. I mean, I was trying to make the point that it's bizarre to me. I mean, everything about the internet is still new. It's still being formulated as we go. I mean, you saw the Facebook. It's so funny now. Obviously, we've all made memes about it. But when Mark Zuckerberg was on trial for the Cambridge Analytica debacle that he was in.
brought before
Sorry,
Congress.
that's what I meant. He was being questioned by senators and congressmen and high up people in America, right? And they had no fucking clue what to ask him. Basically, they're like, "Is Facebook this? Is Facebook that?" They were asking what Facebook was. They don't even know what it is. So it's just interesting to me that such a large, like, a company like Google has so much power over that the government of China is turning to them to basically help out with censorship of the internet to their people. Is That's what I was trying to say. I think it's a strange thing, but obviously Google knows what they're doing when it comes to a search engine, as it is now a verb to Google something. So
Right, and has been for some time.
yeah.
And I think the other thing is that, like, having been through the internet age for whatever length of time, we have come to see a lot of these companies that we're now scrutinizing as kind of champions of freedom and access and things like that. So I think that as an internet nerd, I really took to heart, like, Google's motto or slogan being "Don't be evil." Like, that was
Right.
an excellent motto to go by, and it seemed for a very long time that they were promoting ease of access, greater availability of opportunity to everybody for access to the internet so that they could increase their own traffic, etc. And then I think it's been recently, within like the past 10 years, that we've really understood the extent to which we are giving up so many of our freedoms and so many of our how we have become the product which is being sold elsewhere. And we've only recently come to understand what that is. And part of what makes this thing in China so important is that not only was it Google wanting to cooperate to be restrictive again after so much public outcry in the 2000s, but that the Google employees themselves are the people who are pushing for this restrictive internet to not be a project that's completed.
Right. Yeah. Clearly, it seems like the higher ups at Google are being probably paid quite a bit of money to go through with this project, but the people who would actually be doing the research and making the search engine are against it. So it's like they understand what's being done, but there's not much they can do. Well, I don't know necessarily how far along this is, and whether or not
So
it can be implemented, actually. So
the CEO of Google has said that it's in the exploratory phase, and so
Okay.
not super advanced. But for instance, there was another project which the Google employees deemed, many of them that were working it deemed morally or ethically incongruous with the idea behind Google, which was developing an AI system for the military. And dozens of engineers resigned, and it basically forced Google, the company, to let the contract that they had with the military expire so that they didn't continue to build an AI for a military application. So there have been examples of Google employees being very strong in terms of stating, this is something that we believe in and we can't let this happen. And so when we go to this, they sent a letter to executives. This is according to, I'm reading this from the Vox's report on this. They had 4 specific demands. The first is they want the company to create a structure to allow rank and file employees to review ethical issues in company projects. That's pretty intense, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of like a union policy for employees. And again, Google employees are not, to my knowledge, unionized in any specific union.
They probably get paid too much to be union. I'm kidding.
Well, I mean,
I'm kidding.
yeah, that's actually part of the issue, right? So, like, they would say that the Google would say that you're all super well paid. You have a lot of the benefits that the union would be the people fighting for. But this is an interesting way of, like, employees unionizing in a non-official union capacity. It's actually pretty interesting to me. The second thing they wanted is, they want the company to appoint an ombudsman to oversee the ethics review process, with input from employees over who fills the position. So basically establish a different office that would be in charge of the review of ethical procedures or the ethics of a certain given project.
Okay.
Third, you have something
No,
about
no,
that?
no. No, sorry.
Third, they want a plan to ensure Google is transparent with employees about the purpose of the technology the company is developing, so employees can make informed choices about the ethical implications of the work they do.
Okay.
And finally, they want the company to publish ethical assessments of their projects, such as Dragonfly, and to communicate regularly with employees about issues of concern. This is extremely
Published to
potent.
the public or to
It doesn't
Google
say
employees?
here. That was me basically quoting what was written here.
Okay.
So I would assume that this would be probably an internal document, but anything that gets written to internal employees most likely has the ability to be, you know,
Public.
scattered to the winds of news,
Sure.
and made public. So this is how Dragonfly was made public. It was basically an internal whistleblower. So this would be the kind of thing that would most likely it would be difficult to keep internal, I would think.
Okay.
A published
Well,
ethical
that's
assessment.
actually good news that, I mean, it's bad news that they were going through with this plan, or at least trying to. But it's good news
They
that
haven't cut the project, by the way.
Right, exactly.
They haven't said that they're
I'm
stopping
guessing
it, so.
obviously not. But it's great news that the Google employees are trying to stop this at some point, because, I mean, as we complain about, like, we all started, I don't know, we complain about a lot of things on the internet, obviously. Censorship is definitely one of them. And to the extent at which we don't even know, I mean, I don't know personally the extent at which it's like to use the internet in China, as it is now. And so if Google was to make this censorship much more effective, in that, you know, they can filter through piles and piles of data in a second, because they make effective search engines, then who knows? Like, you literally, I don't know exactly what they're trying to censor, but I assume again, you mentioned it in the beginning, but it's crazy to think that if you Googled something, you weren't allowed to access it, right? It's crazy to think that, and that's just I mean, granted, Google is a company that provides us all a very valuable service, so I don't know.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's pretty crazy.
It is intense on many levels in terms of this is the internet is a place of immense possibility and opportunity, which has been turned into one of the biggest greed pots that we have available.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at, like, the largest tech companies, Facebook, Google, Zynga, back in the day, these are tech companies that are using a lot of our data, etc. Like, they're using our shoe size, where we are, what our habits are in terms of our life or internet usage, so to commodify us. So we are becoming products that are bought and sold to different corporations for
Right,
information,
and again,
and then
we
targeted.
talked about this in two other podcasts. So if you want to go back and listen to those, be our guest. That'd be great for us. But keep going, Ivan. Sorry.
And then when we get to the fact that they just want to increase the shares of people and information that they can get this kind of information from,
Mm-hmm.
by conforming to very restrictive, undemocratic policies in China, for instance, as is the case here. It really is contradictory to, like, for instance, Google's initial motto, and I think it's contradictory to what the internet was supposed to be. They're much more like a traditional company, trying to make as much money as possible from from everybody and the entire market without any kind of consideration. And this is a statement that I'm kind of paraphrasing from a former Google engineer who helped develop the first censorship tool in China. He says, Google is acting like a traditional company, one that squeezes every time out of the marketplace, heedless of intangibles like principle, ethical costs, and even at the risk of safety of its users. Like you were saying, if Google can collect so much information about users in China, then that information gets filtered back to the government, which can use it to crack down on people who are just looking to search up something like, what is a human right, or like, how can you protest peacefully, things like that. So
Yeah, exactly.
it can Google, like, okay, they're going to make money off of selling our data, but if they're also going to then put people in danger by the information that's collected, that's a like, it's down the same route, but a vastly more dangerous ball game.
Yeah, no, this is as they say a slippery slope, right? I mean, we for instance, in America, right? We've gone through and gotten rid of net neutrality, right?
Hmm.
And okay, that doesn't how has that at all actually affected your internet usage currently today? I doubt it has really affected you at all.
Not much.
Exactly. But it is obviously a horrible thing that should not have happened, and it opens the door for companies that that provide us internet to start throttling our internet and things like that. So this type of
It is
search
a
engine
longer
thing
term
has, yeah,
stratagem.
it's a long-term situation. uh, and I don't know why I was trying to make this analogy, but obviously, I guess, I mean, it's sort of relevant. I mean, global warming is also a long term effect that we're really actually seeing the effects of now. How many natural disasters have shown up in the past year alone? A lot, actually.
From drought, erosion,
In
um,
America, it's
all
happening.
sorts,
So,
yeah, all sorts of natural disasters that are exacerbated by the fact that our climate is shifting so dramatically from
mhm,
the intervention of man.
right.
And these are
So,
things that are
exactly.
called, like, the economic term for these things are called externalities.
Mhm.
So externalities are costs and repercussions of doing business that are pushed out into the public space and are shared as the company doesn't have to pay for dealing with them, essentially. So what that means is, like, a company that manufactures cars, right? They
Yeah.
generate tons and tons and tons of waste and smog and whatever. And dealing with that cost to the environment is an externality. It's not something that they have to pay for. Just like
I
using
see.
air or other resources that are not commodified. So if you have to use oxygen to process something, then that is an externality, right? It's something that is part of the input that helps to get to the output that you don't have to pay for. And the other thing is that, like, you don't have to pay for cleaning up the environment, but you dirty up the environment. So part
Mhm.
of your output is something that you is a net negative, but you don't have to pay for because of the different things. Now you might say that there are different policies in place, etc., that like the EPA that restricts different things, and then they have to companies have to adjust based on EPA restrictions or whatever. But under Trump, under Republican Congress, a lot of these restrictions have been taken down.
Yeah.
Alternatively, in the internet space, we have different sets of externalities and different sets of things that are the hidden features of things, like what caused climate change to accelerate so quickly. So I think that is not a poor analogy, and if we let things slip and go unnoticed and unchallenged and unmoved, then we will end up having an internet crisis, the likes of which will rival what climate change is to the planet. I mean,
Yeah. Exactly. No, that's exactly right, Ivan. I mean, we're currently seeing the effects of climate change because it's been going on. Actually, I think I saw a post on Reddit. There was an article, some scientific journal article that was literally from 1908, I think, that literally warned against climate change. And what man is doing to the environment. So I mean, we've known about climate change for over 100 years now.
yeah, the
So
Industrial Revolution
exactly, yeah,
changed the air quality and everything of cities.
yeah.
So factories just sprang up where nothing existed before, and like, quality of life diminished significantly
But
in
that
major cities.
but that being said, the quality of life also increased. I would say. I mean, we have so many more things because of the Industrial Revolution.
Bad jobs do not equal increase in quality of life. So even if you
Okay.
have more money, for instance, there was a documentary that followed, like, several refugees who came from Sudan to America, and they were like, if in Sudan I earned $400, which I did this week, I would be a rich man. But here, all this money that I
Yeah.
earned, it's already gone. I have to pay for bills, housing, food, etc. So like with the increase in people getting paid, there's also an increase in cost of living. So if you look at New York City,
Yeah,
right,
I
there's
agree.
a
You're
crisis
right.
of housing in New York City, etc. So
Yeah,
even
tell
though
me about
income
it.
is higher in New York
Gotta
City
move
than it
tomorrow.
is, yeah, exactly. Even if income is higher in New York City than it is compared to the average wage across America,
The
the
living wage is not
yeah, the cost
is
of living
higher.
in New York City is so tremendously high compared to what it is in other places. And the same thing in other major cities like LA,
And
right?
San
If you want to
Francisco.
buy a house in LA, San Francisco, New York, you have to pay out buku bucks.
Yeah. No, sorry. My point was that the technology that we got out of it, which is not accessible by everyone. I understand what you're saying. I was saying the technology we got out of the Industrial Revolution paved the way for what we have now.
And the way that we balanced out
Yeah.
the industrialists and the growth of technology as a capitalist venture
Yeah.
was by having
bad.
workers unionize and fight for standards
Oh,
of
sorry.
living,
That was great.
anti-child labor, having a set number of hours for a workday.
Of course.
Eventually getting things like paid family leave in certain countries, or the ability for there to be non-discrimination in hiring practices. Like the legacy of the Industrial Revolution is, advancements in technology, building the car, etc., going to the internet in terms of these hard firmware, like hardware advances in technology. But it is also the history of workers uniting in order to combat the exact people who are employing them, to make sure that there's a balance and fairness of and ethics are part of the calculation of cost of business, right?
Well, Yvonne, keep going. I didn't know you were going to keep going. Sorry.
No, and I was just going to say that the Google employees are showing tremendous amounts of ability to change the course of a company by bringing things to light, by, what is it, blame and shame or something like that. It's like a PR technique, right? You bring it to light, you talk about how it's bad, and you shame the company that's been doing that thing, or the country in the international politics arena that's been doing that kind of thing. Name and shame, that's what it is.
Name and shame. I see.
So Google the employees were able to name and shame the Project Dragonfly and the bad things that it planned to do. I think that this is a tremendous step forward, and I think that employees for companies like Facebook, etc., can also take heed of what these. The best way to monitor these internet giants, I think, is to have employees talking about what wrongs they're doing. I don't know. I don't know. Did you want to talk about something like that? I wanted to know your opinion on the best way to combat it, and I
Combat
think that
what's going on, specifically Google, or?
Yeah, we can talk about specifically Google or a broader topic of it. Either way you want to take it. I was interested to see, like, since we talked about what we can do from a consumer basis of, like, monitoring, knowing who your
Okay.
congresspeople are, talking about net neutrality and things like that, then people on the employee side have a lot more power, I think.
Well, exactly. I mean, it does. It's not. It's a multifaceted issue, right? So. How does this? It's not like we're even talking about the U.S. government here. It's like we're talking about a company. So how does the person as a consumer, as an American citizen, I mean, or a Chinese citizen, hell, I don't know. How does that person, prevent this from happening? Because I would say the majority of people probably don't want this to happen. I think that's. I would probably venture to guess that most people in China don't want that to happen. They don't want to be restricted in their internet searches. I don't know what the average Chinese citizen, what's their internet usage like. I do know, actually, on a similar note,
tremendously increased number. I think it's
right.
like 175 million internet users, something like that.
I can imagine. There are over 1 billion people there. I do know on a tangent note, but definitely related, the Chinese government I believe there's a company called Tencent that is the largest video game distributor in China, sort of like Steam, and they're coming under fire, or maybe I can't remember the exact story, so maybe I shouldn't say anything. But I know that they're trying to censor video game sales in China, as well, which is similar to, obviously this is internet use that we're talking about.
Sorry, 772 million users in China.
That's how many people use the internet every day, right? Or like,
Yeah.
not every day, but
That's
in
the
general.
census of Chinese population using the internet, according
Makes
to
sense.
several different reports.
Makes sense.
So upwards of 700
obviously,
million.
you have your old Tai Chi man who doesn't want to use the internet. That's fine. I love that guy. He's great. He makes the dumplings on the side of the block. But look, what can they really do? So I think it seems like there might not be much you can do, except maybe again, the most power that we have in America to affect change globally is actually electing our officials, right? Going out and voting, and voting for someone that you think supports your ideals and things like that. So that's probably where you can start. But I honestly don't even know what you could do to stop Google. I think they're
And
a
I
very
think that's
powerful
part of what
company.
the employees are trying to push for, right?
Right.
So they're trying to push for ideas of having employee voice in choices made by the company. So the employees of Google know that what they make is so powerful that it needs to have
Regulation in some
regulation,
respect.
and it needs to have an oversight or perspective that is something beyond just making as much money as possible.
Right.
And I think it's something that's critically important to something that can harm a lot of people. And I don't know. I'm proud that they're doing this kind of work.
I'm
they're
very
pushing
impressed.
towards it.
I'm impressed. I mean, obviously it's a very sought after job to work at Google. It is the largest tech company in the world, I would say. And I would feel like the people there are very cutthroat. They work their ass off to make it there, and I would think that they're just trying to make as much money as possible on average. But it seems like they have a head that thinks about the overall product as a whole, and I think that's really great. So maybe the hiring people at Google are the real people that are winning, because they're like, oh, we hired. I'm kidding. We hired good people to work for us. I'm kidding. It's a bad joke. It went too deep. The joke was too long, and I don't know how to deliver a joke. So, anyways, yeah, keep an eye on this. I don't know if you have anything else to say, dude. Look,
No,
keep an eye.
I
Like,
think,
this is bad. Okay.
I
It
think
sucks.
that this is actually a good sign that Google employees forced Google's hand in terms of the military application of AI, right? They shut that program down. The leadership, the Google and Alphabet, whatever, leadership had a series of meetings with employees, as reported by Jacobin, where they took some really harsh criticism. Very outspoken and very harsh criticism, and people resigned and people spoke out against it, and Google changed their platform. They pushed out a series of moral and ethical limits that in regards to AI, so that their future work can be more civilian oriented, less military oriented.
So do you
In a
think?
similar way.
Sorry.
Sorry.
No,
No, go ahead.
I
go
was
ahead.
saying,
I talk
do
too
you
much,
think
dude. I want more interaction.
I mean, in America, right? We always
Mhm.
think the big company is bad, right? On average, we usually think large companies are bad, and they're always here just to, like Walmart, for instance. So they're always here to just invade a small town and just take over every
I think
business
too
possible.
large of companies are viewed that way, like
Yeah,
monopoly
okay.
companies.
Well, would you
Yeah.
agree that Google is probably that size? by
I'd
now.
say yes.
Yeah.
They've
So
been that size for quite some time.
so do you think that there can be, I mean, that's a general stigma that we have towards large companies in America. Do you think that that Google could possibly, I mean, it seems like their employees are trying to fight back here and help out the consumer and also themselves. I mean, they're part of this as well. Um, do you think that there can be a large company in America that doesn't that reverses that stigma, uh, such as like Google, that has grandiose, ideas for the future of the world? Obviously, Google is going to play a huge part in the future of the internet, which seems
I
to
think
be where we're
so.
moving towards. Do you think a company like Google can turn their image around, which it seems to be going down the drain right now? They're made two bad moves. They've been in the news negatively twice in this year alone.
Yeah,
I
their
would say,
stock
yeah,
has actually gone down since
their
the
stock is
announcement of this
dropping.
stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
Um,
So, do you think they can turn it around?
yeah,
And
of course they can. Google can hire the best marketing people in the world.
that's
You
true.
know, everybody loves Facebook. Facebook is for friends, right?
Yeah,
That's what the
that's true.
marketing that they've plastered everywhere that I saw, like literally 3 ads every 30 minutes for Facebook being a place for friends and not political dissidents or
Okay.
political antagonism. That worked, right?
Yeah.
No, I actually think that
It did.
companies that are actually going to change how their system works and not just provide a rhetoric of saying, yes, this is, we don't support
We're
bad
investigating
behavior
in it. Yeah.
and we're investigating it. Like, I think the basic difference between like how Google handled the military application of AI and Facebook with the ability for Facebook to manipulate people, right?
Yeah.
Facebook's business model is basically based on the idea that you get as much information from people as possible and then manipulate them to create echo chambers where the people who are surrounding you and interact with you on Facebook are people who sound like you, look like you, voice like you, and they're going to sell as
Suggested
much
friends.
products to that enclave of people, that niche of people as possible, because Facebook as a business model wants to create and see where the niche is so that companies can target that niche and sell to that niche.
Yeah.
The difference, I think, between like Facebook as a business model just cannot, unless it changes how the core of its existence like works through business, like how their business model should change. They're never going to change. So they're going to continue to be evil and help promote political dissidents and these echo chambers of antagonism. Whereas a company like Google, if it's going to continue in the path by which it's listening to employees, creating transparency for how decisions are made, like this is the step where we can see what Google is going to do in terms of making their products morally and ethically linked to, like there should be a moral ethical link to how they decide or implement projects, right?
Yeah.
So this is, I think, the difference where we can see where Facebook is trying to obfuscate and say, oh, we've you can't sign up unless you're this or this, and clearly you can just fake all of that shit. Whereas Google is trying to be beholden not to the general public or to a Congress that has no idea what they're talking about, but to their employees themselves.
Okay.
And if Google is going to be, hiring the best, and then the best are going to be quitting, then they realize that there's going to be a tremendous difficulty in maintaining the caliber of talent that they need. So this is going to continue to be kind of the area of test cases where Google is going to have to decide, are we going to be a company that can retain employees on a moral, ethical level, or are we going to be a company that has to chew them up and spit them out as fast as possible and basically get talent through at a rate that's going to be, I think, unsustainable for a lot of companies.
Yeah, it's a tough choice. It's also an interesting, interesting dilemma or problem that's arisen in this news article alone. I think it's like reports of this type are like, oh, a bad thing happened here, or this is now an unfolding story. So it's It's interesting that they're like Google is doing something bad, but their employees are trying to stop it from happening. So it's
Right.
it's sort of a almost neutral story, which is pretty cool. I like it. I hope that this problem is resolved, and I hope that Google does not go through with implementing a censorship in terms a censorship search engine in China. That would be horrible, and
Right,
it
I
would
mean-
prevent education. Honestly, I mean, Google is has honestly educated me many times, but just because I have the privilege of using the search engine every day to look up whatever I want. So I think
With open and fair opportunity to the greatest extent possible.
right, exactly, or at least it gives me the most hits, the website with the most hits on the top that's relevant.
Actually,
to my
it's the
search
most
engine.
links.
What?
The more a page is linked,
Right, links.
the
sorry.
higher it gets into the Google search engine.
So it's not
basically-
necessarily just hits.
No, it's not. It's a algorithm that is links, traffic, and things like that. So
Okay.
the more links that your website, like it's linked back to that website in terms of the keywords, then the higher it goes. Or at least this is how the algorithm used to work.
But as a secondary effect, it gets way more hits.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. But it's not because of the hits that you're seeing it. Okay. So, anyways, Yvonne,
That's my basic level of understanding. Again,
I don't know how a search engine
the end
works.
all. We're not the end all be all, but this
Yeah.
is
We hope
how
you
it
use
was
the search
explained to me.
engine, and maybe we came up. Link us out so we will get to the top of the Google searches for hungover gaming. That would be awesome.
That would.
That would be great. Then we'd actually have to start being hungover on our podcast, huh?
Oh God,
My
my body can't handle it.
Well, anyways, we hope that we were able to tell you about a topic that maybe you didn't know about. I honestly didn't know about it until today. So hopefully you learned something during this podcast. Pay attention to Google. They're not necessarily your best friend, but they could possibly be in the future.
Sorry.
You never know. Clap sync again. 3, 2, 1, boom. We got it. We didn't need that. Sorry for clapping in your ears, but I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Yvonne, thanks so much for bringing me this topic. It was a great topic, but I'll tell you, I'm going to bring you some sweet tunes in your ear because we end our podcast every single week in a song in a segment called Hungover Radio. This is where you, the listener or viewer, can send in your music to gaminghungover@gmail.com. The links are in the description below, and we can play your music for you. Play your music for other people. Sorry, we would never play it for you. You can play it for yourself. But Yvonne, no one sends in a song.
You get to choose.
I get to choose
What did
one.
you choose this
I
week?
chose a song for a game that I'm very excited to be updated. Allegedly, on September 6th, Tekken 7 Season 2 is coming out, and wouldn't you know it, there are 2 characters being released immediately.
Is that
Anna,
like Tekken 14?
that is Tekken 14. It's actually 7 squared. What is that?
49.
Boom. You're right. But there are
Thank
2
you.
characters that are coming out. It's Tekken 49. We're going to be playing Tekken from Tekken 3, the arranged OST. Anna Williams is one of the characters that are coming out. And there's also a character named Lei, which everyone's super excited for. And it's been teased that Negan is coming out from The Walking Dead. But I don't really care about him. I'm actually more interested in Lei. But we're going to play Anna's theme because it's pretty cool. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for tuning in to the podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And we'll catch you guys next week.
Thanks for doing all the work, Julian.
I
See you guys.
didn't do any work. Goodbye.